Finally, the deliverance. After 74 days of an exceptional regatta, Armel Le Cleac'h arrives this afternoon off les Sables d'Olonne. Race time, 74 days, 3 hours, and 46 seconds. I didn't let go, not an inch. Each meter made up, it was a tough fight. I wanted this victory so badly. A beautiful victory for this 39-year-old skipper. It's also the end of a 10-year quest in which he came in second twice in the last Vendee Globes. The 8th edition will be the good one. An 8th edition dominated by a duel at the top with Alex Thompson, a full-throttle chase led by Armel since November 23rd. 47 days under high tension are ending today. I had the feeling everything was going against me. I held on, and it worked out. I fought, and also got a lot of support from land. People sending messages not to give in. And finally, it was only last night that I contemplated this victory. It's yesterday afternoon that both men tacked into the channel's entrance before diving into icy winds towards les Sables d'Olonne. Alex Thompson was then located 95 miles back. The dice were cast, the more so as Alex is exhausted because of major technical problems that kept him from getting any sleep. He made a beautiful race. He was part of the serious pretenders with a great many assets. He is surely a dreaded and feared opponent. He got great weather conditions in the Atlantic to get back in the fight. I really thought I had made the gap around the Cape Horn, but obviously not enough. True, I had to stay with it till the very end. Alex Thompson is expected in during the night. He will have fought till the very end.
I'm not supposed to see you when my eyes are closed, or run my hand across your skin real slow.
Allez, Armel.
So, Armel.
Armel Le Cleac'h.
Armel Le
Le
Cleac'h,
vainqueur de ce
the
Vendée
winner
Globe
of this
2016-2017.
Vendée Globe 2016-2017.
Armel qui a franchi la ligne cet
Armel
après-midi,
crossed the
16h37 minutes,
line
46 secondes, c'est un nouveau record.
74 days, 3 hours, 35 days, and 46 seconds, with a new record established today. Almost 4 days off the record established, set by François Gabard in the last edition. Thank you very much.
Armel, deuxième
Armel,
en
second
2008,
in
deuxième en 2012, et cette fois la
2008
victoire est à vous.
and
Et ce trophée aussi,
2012,
Armel,
and the
vous en
trophy as
profiterez
well.
pleinement le 13 mai, puisque
Wonderful
ce sera lors de la
trophy on
remise
the
des prix
13th of
officiels.
May
On va quand même vous la mettre
in the
juste à côté
official
pour en profiter un petit
prize
peu.
giving ceremony, but we're going to give you the chance just to touch it a little bit today. Thank you
Bon,
very
Armel,
much.
quelle
So,
course,
Armel,
vous
what a
êtes passé
race.
par toutes les émotions, nous aussi, hein, on vous
You've
cache
been
pas avec
through the
Olivia.
whole gamut of
Vous avez
emotions.
craqué après la ligne et puis on a
And when
tous
you
pleuré
crossed the
ici.
line, we saw
Quelle
you
est
crying
l'émotion,
here.
qui vous envahit maintenant,
What
là,
emotions?
actuellement? Qu'est-ce que vous
What are your
ressentez?
emotions now? What do you feel now? Well,
Bah, je suis toujours dans l'émotion de
I'm
l'arrivée.
still in the obviously in the full
partagée
throes of the
entre
emotions of the
limite de
arrival.
pleurer et puis
Somewhere
grande joie,
between wanting to jump for joy
c'est
and
très fort.
crying.
Voilà, c'est très
It's
fort.
extremely strong, of
C'est
course.
incroyable de gagner le Vendée Globe.
It's pretty incredible to actually
J'ai pas
win
eu cette chance
the
il y a
Vendée
4 ans,
Globe.
il y a
I wasn't
8
that
ans,
lucky, this
c'était
lucky
une belle deuxième place.
4 years
mais,
ago or 8 years ago.
voilà, la victoire,
good
comme on dit,
second
la victoire est
places.
belle et là
And
aujourd'hui
the well-known saying
mesure
goes,
pleinement
only
cette
the
chance
victory, only
d'avoir
winning
gagné,
is
ce Vendée Globe
beautiful.
avec toute une équipe, un sponsor.
Of course, I've won this Vendée Globe
donné les
with
moyens, c'était l'objectif
a team
clairement annoncé.
and my sponsor.
Et très heureux d'y arriver
Clearly
aujourd'hui.
stated
Et c'est sûr que
objective
l'émotion,
at the
elle est
outset
présente
was
parce
to
que ça n'a
win,
pas été simple.
and it
sûr.
wasn't easy. Hasn't been
Voilà.
easy. I mean, far from it.
Armel, on a eu une petite vidéo
So
de
Armel,
Jean Le
we
Cam
have
qui te
a
félicite. On a
small
reçu ça à la
video
rédaction tout à l'heure
from
et
Jean Le Cam.
c'est très drôle parce qu'il disait voilà,
It's
on a
funny
perdu
because he
Trafalgar,
said
mais
we lost
on a
Trafalgar,
gagné,
but
cette année.
We've won this year. We've won the Vendee Globe against a British fellow sailor.
Est-ce que Alex Thompson t'a
So,
foncièrement poussé dans tes retranchements?
Alex Thompson has really kind of kept pushing hard, and Gabar's been saying as well that the last edition also said that winning is beautiful. So on this Vendée Globe then.
Oui, c'est sûr que Alex m'a.
Well, yes,
poussé,
Vendée Globe,
jusqu'au
Alex
bout.
certainly has been
À
pushing me through to the end,
quelques
yeah,
heures avant
right to the end.
l'arrivée, C'était compliqué.
It's been complicated.
Depuis quasiment le
Right
début,
from
hein, c'est
the
sûr que
start,
la
more or
bagarre
less.
a
In
été,
fact, the fight,
intense,
the battle has
descente
been
d'Atlantique a été,
intense.
très rapide.
The Atlantic was fast.
A montré son potentiel de
Alex
vitesse,
showed
à un
his
moment,
potential for speed at
faire la
a
différence.
particular
C'est vrai qu'il a
time,
fallu s'accrocher,
and
à ce
I
train
know he's
d'enfer
really
qu'il
kind
menait.
of hung on
Et
and
puis
kept
voilà,
at
il y a
it.
eu,
So
les mers du Sud,
yeah, it was the Southern Ocean
moi,
too,
je m'en
of
suis bien
course.
sorti.
I
J'ai
managed to
essayé
get through pretty well.
de naviguer avec l'expérience,
Managed to
le
sail with
travail,
experience and the
notamment
work
sur le bateau, la performance du bateau
on
que je
the
maîtrisais
boat's
bien.
performance, which
Ça a porté
I
ses
know
fruits,
really
on
well, and
s'en est bien
it's
sorti.
borne
On a
its
réussi
fruit.
à
Of course,
sortir avec 2 jours
it's
d'avance au Cap Horn.
managed
Je
to
pensais
come out 2 days ahead at
que,
Cape
alors, pas que le
Cape
bilan
Horn.
était fait, mais en tout cas que,
I thought
voilà,
that
j'avais
the
marqué un
worst was
petit,
behind me, well,
petit
almost,
avantage.
and thought I had a clear advantage.
Malheureusement,
But
la
then I realized
la
that
météo de l'Atlantique
the weather started playing around a
Nord
little bit.
n'a pas été favorable du tout
So it
avec
wasn't
moi, et, bon,
that
au début,
favourable,
je me
actually
suis
didn't
dit,
really play into my hands as I'd been expecting it might.
d'accord, ok,
So, okay, I had to rethink things a little bit. Okay, he's, you know, grabbed, managed to cover, reduce another 600 miles. Then the transitional zone, you know, after the Canary Islands, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, well, you know, the weather's going to play around with us again, and in fact, it's not possible we're going to be tacking here. 50 degrees north, we're going to find ourselves in the icebergs. I was just wondering, actually, if there was is there an Arctic, an ice limitation zone in the Arctic? Well, actually, at the end, it meant that Alex had quite an advantage at that point, and he took his chance, and he, you know, he was starting to get closer and closer all the time, and it put me under quite a lot of pressure. Well, you need to be pretty hefty mentally, pretty strong mentally to kind of cope with that. I kind of, you know, gave it all I had, and I've not been under pressure just in the last 24 hours, but since Cape Horn, in fact. So, you know, it's been pretty tough, actually. It's not 24 hours, it's more like 25 days, in fact. 25 days is a long time. It's hard. You know, I was thinking, yeah, I'll be able to seize this particular opportunity and, you know, increase the lead. And each time I kind of inched a bit forward, then, you know, he was there. Still managed just to keep ahead. Lots of messages from supporters, from family and friends and so on helped, of course, there's encouragements and so on. Yeah, we can believe it, you know, it's gonna, you can do it, you know, we believe in you, it's still possible, you should, you know, come on, keep going. And at the end, well, I don't know who believed in it, but we had to keep believing in it and believing that it was possible. And with Alex, yeah, well, it's been different, in fact, to what I went through with Francois 4 years ago. We had a different type of match, except at the end of the Atlantic when we were practically 30, 40 miles within one another. Either of us might have finished in the lead, but then it's been quite different this time. Alex really did keep the pressure up. You know, he really felt that he wasn't going to let go. He really hanging on in there, you know.
que ma maman m'a envoyé un message.
I think it was my mum who sent me a message saying, I think it was my mum,
La victoire sera plus belle. Si
the
tu
victory will be
restes
even
dans
finer
la dureté, dans la difficulté.
if you are actually fighting for
Si
it.
tu gagnes justement en
If you
ayant
win
aussi,
because it's sort of
cette bagarre
easy,
et pas
well,
justement 800 000 d'avance et puis tranquillement l'Atlantique se
you know,
rend compte
sailing
ce
across
que ça te
Atlantic
donne.
yourself on your own without any pressure, you know, you probably enjoy it more, savor the victory more if you really have to fight for it. Well, I hadn't quite imagined it would be quite like that, but actually I agree with what was said. Well, we do get the feeling that this Vendee Globe has, generally speaking, been something you've really been in control, that you've really mastered, that you were always got the feeling that you had something, you know, there was always reserve, that you always had more energy, more strength. How were you generally? Were you conservative about in your approach? Well, no. I tried to sail in the way I know, the way I have learned to sail over the years, about how to manage an IMOCA 60-foot boat, about how to manage speed.
Voilà, je faisais avec la sensation.
I always had the feeling that the boat and I were getting along well. I knew in transitional periods to manage those and handle those periods pretty well. I've made mistakes. I made mistakes, one or two weather situations which I didn't actually manage that well. But overall, well, coming out of the Indian Ocean was not too bad. The Pacific Ocean, in terms of sailing, pure navigational terms, was excellent. It was really good. Really enjoyed that. It's what I really like about it, you know, looking through the various situations and try and find the ideal course to sail, really. And it's really made up of lots of details, in fact, at particular moments in time, and things have gone really well. One thing ran rather well into another, you know, the succession of events. Yeah, coming back up the Atlantic was a little bit more complicated, and I've tried to get through it all as best I could, and it hasn't been easy. Wasn't easy. Boat. What about a word for your boat then? You know, your boat is wonderful. She looks in really good shape. We've learnt also that she's been sold, which is probably a little bit of a heart-wrenching thing for you, a heart-wrenching event to sell the boat at the end of the race. Well, it's a great story, really. The boat, you know, the stories with Banque Poipulaire 4 years ago, a few years ago, 4 years ago, and when I finished second with Banque Poipulaire, well, my sponsor said at that time, well, we really enjoyed this adventure. We've really, you know, felt for it. We want to go back. We really want to support you to sail yet again, compete yet again. And so, well, I said, well, maybe we should just wait and let me think about it a little bit. You know, I need to kind of digest what's just happened. And just a few weeks afterwards, I replied that yes, of course. The experience of Vendee Globe and the whole team, my dream team as I call them, who really helped me, who built the boat with me, and with their experience, their knowledge, each with his individual skill, which collectively have really helped me, and without whom it wouldn't have been possible to sail the Vendee Globe races I've taken part in. It's not the fastest boat in pure terms, but it really is a boat which has been very versatile, particularly in the transitional phases. So
voilà, ça sert à rien d'aller
There's no point
moi, d'aller
really, from my point of view anyway,
très vite,
going
à fond,
really
à
fast,
des allures,
flat out
pendant 3-4 jours.
all the
C'est
time,
derrière pour
3 or 4 days,
pour
for
perdre
3 or 4
sans
days,
doute,
if
dans une
actually
transition,
in a
c'est
transitional phase
pour
I'll
moi d'avoir
be
un bateau
losing
qui soit complet dans tous les
losing
allures.
miles. So
Et pour ça, effectivement, Banque Poipulaire VIII,
where
c'est un
I'm
bateau
really satisfied with
qui me
Banque
ressemble
Populaire is that
par
it's
rapport
she's a
à la
boat
façon
which
d'aborder le Vendée Globe.
I'm at home with,
L'expérience que j'ai eue
the experience I
de
have
précédentes éditions,
from previous editions,
le travail d'une équipe,
the
l'expérience
work
d'une
of the
équipe,
teams, the team experience that
et
we've
lui, à
had.
l'arrivée, le bateau, il a fière allure. C'est pour ça que
So,
je l'ai
I mean, the boat
remercié,
looks
parce
fine
qu'on a
and,
vécu ensemble,
you know, great as we finish.
l'histoire, il y a ce Vendée
There's
Globe,
a whole
il y a la
story
tournée
behind
anglaise
it.
qu'on a
We
gagnée
did
tous
the
parce
English
que, voilà,
Transat,
c'est moi et le
transatlantic
bateau
race.
et l'équipe.
Boat and I and the team have a long history behind us. Jacques Fabre race was good too.
Moments forts passés
We've
ensemble.
spent lots of
Et puis,
really
bien sûr,
strong,
la
intense
victoire
moments
au bout,
together, and to win
c'est
is
la cerise
really,
sur le gâteau parce que,
you know, the icing on the cake.
oui, le bateau est vendu, le bateau
Yes, the boat has been sold.
sera skippé par Louis
It'll
Burton
be
quelques
skippered
semaines,
by Louis Burton in a
j'ai
few
pas
weeks
peur
from
de
now.
finir cette histoire de la plus belle des manières.
And it's a great finish to the race.
La meilleure façon de le remercier parce qu'il m'a
Really want to thank
il a
him
été
actually
jusqu'au bout. Il a pas
because, you know,
craqué, le bateau.
Alex, I mean, the boat
Moi, un
has
petit peu de temps en temps, mais lui non.
never let me down. I mean, I kind of lost
puis
it a
voilà,
bit
c'est un
from
bateau
time to
qui
time,
ressemble
but
à
the
toute
boat
mon
never
équipe.
did.
Voilà, c'est un bateau qui est complet, qui est
The boat is
performant,
complete. It's an all-round, a good
qui
all-rounder. Performs
m'a
well,
fait plaisir sur l'eau
and I've got immense pleasure from sailing her. So we have a common story which is really quite unique.
Aux journalistes qui sont nombreux dans cette salle et qui
So
ont
we're going to hand
également
over
plein de questions à vous
to
poser.
questions from the floor.
Bonjour Armel. Nous,
Hello, Armel.
Dans un coin, donc je me lève. Bravo Armel.
Bravo, Armel.
On a appris tout à l'heure que tu avais perdu
We learned that
la possibilité d'utiliser ton J1 depuis
you've lost your
le Pacifique. Est-ce que tu peux nous
G1
dire à quel
from the
point il
beginning
t'a
of the
manqué?
race.
Est-ce qu'il aurait pu te faire éventuellement perdre ce Vendée Globe?
What
De pas avoir cette voile très
difference did it make not to have this sail?
Ouais, alors cette histoire-là, c'est un peu c'est un petit peu le point noir de ce Vendée
Well,
Globe.
it's the kind of you know, it's the shadow on the what would otherwise have been
il y a des problèmes sur le Vendée Globe, on en a tous eu,
a perfect race.
partie du jeu,
Everybody,
la
you know,
bricole. C'est vrai que cette galère-là,
fixing problems is part
je
and
pense
parcel of
clairement
what
parce que
this race is all about,
j'avais
of
un
course.
rendez-vous téléphonique à ce moment-là avec
I had a telephone appointment at that particular moment in time with a journalist from the L'Équipe who I'd agreed to talk to at whatever time it was, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think. And everything was fine with the G1, the boat was fine, going at 20 knots, you know, perfect conditions.
J'allais aller me mettre à la table à cartes pour répondre au téléphone quand
I was about to go to the chart table when all of I heard this incredible
et je sors et je vois
boom
la voile dans
sort of
l'eau,
noise, and
qu'est-ce qui se passe et puis évidemment
I looked up and I saw that
enfin, bref, donc
you know, things were not right. Telephone, I could hear the telephone ringing, of course, I didn't answer. The telephone continued ringing for about half an hour or so.
ouais, c'était déjà bon, il a fallu gérer le problème.
So I had to handle the problem, of course, deal with it.
La quille, enfin,
And I had to think about, you know, what was going on with the
sérieusement.
rudder and the keel and
Ensuite,
check everything
très
out.
vite, j'ai fait le diagnostic que le hook
I-
sur la voile quand elle est
The
hissée,
diagnosis was
cassé,
that
en
the
fait,
hook had
peut-être demain.
broken at the head of at the masthead.
Bon, je me dis bon bah ok, on va
So I
on va
said, okay,
l'équipe, ce qui s'est passé, et,
have to
j'envoie
try
des
and
photos,
understand what had happened. So I
c'est bizarre,
sent photos to
bon,
my
ça
team.
cassé, on va essayer de comprendre pourquoi.
So, you know, they said, okay, yes, it's broken. Well, I'm going to have to understand, you know, where things have gone wrong.
C'était du 13 décembre.
That was on the 13th of
c'est
December.
arrivé. Donc c'est sûr que c'est une voile qui était pour moi assez
It was a sail
intéressante,
which was, in
notamment
fact,
auprès,
pretty interesting and
de
useful for
14
upwind
nœuds,
sailing, you know, in
voilier
conditions
marche
where
bien.
12 to 14 knots.
Donc, j'avais plus
It was
cette
a really good
possibilité-là,
sail,
notamment
so
dans
I
l'Atlantique.
was
C'est vrai que
pretty
ça-
fed up not to have that sail
ça m'a
anymore.
un petit peu contraint par moment à naviguer soit sous-toilé, soit
So
surtoilé.
I didn't have that sort of mid-range option. I had to sail under canvassed or over canvassed in certain conditions, and it
2
wasn't
jours
quite
après,
so comfortable. A couple of days later, the team sent me a message saying, we've not got a good message for you, is that the hook, in fact, from the same supplier,
mal noté
have in fact been underdimensioned. They realized that, in fact, the hook that I had on the Jenica also at the hands of the Jenica could also fail. So that was a little bit tricky to handle. I mean, okay, it wasn't team's fault, but it happened. Somebody had made a mistake in the calculations in terms of loads. So after a certain number of hours, the part was likely to break. So the part had actually sailed a little bit more than it was able to bear. And knowing that I had another part which was likely to break, well, it was a little bit worrying. And it would also mean that I was going to have another problem and not use another type of sail. So the types of things I was thinking about, there are a number of solutions that were possible. All of the solutions were, thought about, gone through, discussed. In the end, it actually held, which, thank you very much. Touch wood, it held. We tried to sail, so I had to sail a little bit differently, being a little bit more conservative in certain situations. So when the conditions were a little, I didn't sort of push it to its limits. And that was the most complicated and issue technically for us. The rest was in fact, otherwise it was just sort of, minor details, odds and ends here that I had to fix. There was one of the engine is set onto 4-cylinder blocks, and one of the fixations didn't hold properly, and so a metal part actually just a few few millimeters thick, and there are 4 of these parts, and one of them broke. Had a slight problem later on with something that wasn't quite watertight. Didn't break any foils or anything, no problems with the pilots, didn't hit anything. Well, I mean, some things in the water, but nothing serious, nothing big, nothing. Didn't have any major collision with anything, with any floating unidentified object. We were lucky that none of that type of problem occurred. As for the rest, well, the boat was absolutely fine, been well prepared. And the way she handled on the water and the way I was able to sail her, well, if there hadn't been that particular problem, perhaps, maybe, well, you can't do the match, resail it all. All of the boats have had problems, and I've managed to win anyway, so, that's fine. Armel. Good evening, hello. Fine victory, well done. The foils were the novelty, the new element on this race. How did you manage the foils? How did you use them? Well, it's a risk we took. The architects developed this about 3 years ago. We were a little bit skeptical to start off with. We were among the first to start the process on the Immica boats. I remember the Transat Jacques Fabre race where a lot of questions about this particular element, new feature. And people were skeptical about them actually being able to hold out on a race around the world. I hope that Alex and Jeremy, you know, finish and make it to the podium, of course.
C'était le choix qu'il fallait faire.
It really does appear to have been a good choice,
Au bout
therefore.
de cette démarche, on a fait plusieurs foils,
We've tried different types of
on a
foil.
évolué dans notre process. Après,
We developed, made
moi, j'ai
various
géré à ma façon,
developments,
tout à l'heure, je disais,
changes.
sur la façon de gérer le bateau. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a des
It's all
moments
about the
où
way we
j'ai
handle
pas
the
tout le temps
boat.
mis le foil, mais,
I didn't use the foils all the time.
parce que c'était des conditions où le bateau, soit la mer était trop mauvaise,
The conditions determine whether it was appropriate or not.
risqué pour le bateau
If the conditions were too strong, too heavy,
voilà, on met pas le foil à
then
tout le
yeah,
temps
I
à
mean, we
100%.
don't use the
Enfin, en tout
foils
cas,
all the
100%
time, all
du
the time.
parcours, on le met,
Not,
bon, c'est
maybe
difficile de donner un
it's
chiffre,
difficult
mais,
to give a figure, but certainly not 100%
voilà,
of the
je me suis quand même
time.
pas mal servi.
I used them a fair bit, but not all the time.
Quand il fallait mettre le petit coup d'accélérateur au moment, je
Tended to use them, you know, in situations where I really needed to just kind of thought it was good to kind of just put a little bit, accelerate, boost the speed a little bit,
par
and
rapport à l'adversaire.
press the accelerator a little bit, you know.
On va pas lâcher le morceau.
Yeah. So that was
Je pense que
the
finalement, là où
type of
j'ai
situation
peut-être
when
été un peu plus,
I was perhaps a
j'ai un peu
little
plus attaqué plus, on va dire, avec le foil.
attacked a little
Dans
more.
la manière de naviguer par rapport à avant, c'est sur quand Alex bat le record des 24 heures là où
When
moi,
Alex
j'étais
had
devant
beaten
lui,
the 24-hour
je
record,
savais qu'il
I was a
allait
little
un peu
ahead.
cette heure-là, mais je voulais pas le
I didn't want
qu'il me reprenne trop de mille.
to
Donc là,
I didn't want to
j'étais
have
sur le foil
him
tout le long.
get too close
Alors que
and
peut-être si
recover
j'avais
too many
300 mètres
miles.
d'avance, peut-être qu'à un moment j'aurais peut-être remonté le foil, mais quitte à perdre 20-30 000. c'est pas
And
grave.
at that particular point, I
Mais
thought,
voilà,
well,
il
you
fallait
know,
pas les perdre ces 20-30 000. Donc là,
I didn't want to lose
j'ai mis
too
la
much
fond dessus,
distance,
et
so
puis,
that was
bah,
when
c'est
I would
passé.
kind of use the foils,
voilà,
and
j'ai-
that was an
j'ai
example.
pas
And
de 24 heures, mais
yeah,
j'ai
I
pas
didn't beat the
plus,
24-hour record, but at least I
ce tronçon-là, au contraire,
kept
c'est bien
the
passé.
particular distance safe at a, you know, at a particular moment in time when it was critical, so when it was important to me.
Bonsoir Armel, une question assez simple.
Bonsoir,
Comment tu te
Armel.
sens physiquement?
How do you feel
Plus
in
fatigué
physical
sur les
terms?
deux premiers Vendée Globes?
Are you more tired now than you were in the first two Vendee Globes
C'est
races?
dur de comparer, mais
It's difficult to compare.
bon, mon premier Vendée Globe, j'étais arrivé
In my first Vendee Globe,
très épuisé.
I was absolutely
J'avais
exhausted.
eu un problème j'avais mal géré l'alimentation à bord.
I hadn't really managed
j'avais laissé manger des
food
pendant
that well in the
quelques jours
first
avant l'arrivée.
edition, and I
J'étais
didn't have
arrivé,
much
j'avais
to eat.
perdu 10 kilos, j'étais,
I'd lost 10 kilos or whatever. I wasn't in good physical shape when I
c'était
arrived.
dur, enfin, ouais,
It was
c'était pas
tough.
un bon souvenir.
Not a good memory in that
France, c'était très
point
bien
of view.
passé, l'arrivée,
4 years ago, yeah, things
déception
worked really
par rapport aux
well,
résultats, mais,
although I was
souvent, ça
disappointed
allait,
in
et
terms of the
moi,
results,
j'étais bien,
the finish and so on.
ski du
But
Vendée Globe, mais,
yeah, I was tired after a
l'effort
Vendée
était,
Globe, but I mean,
relativement assez simple.
I was in a fairly
j'étais pas
reasonable
arrivé, en
physical
faisant grand-chose
condition.
pour finir ce tour du monde. Aujourd'hui, c'est différent.
Today is
c'est-
different.
J'ai fait un. Bon, je pense que ça fait 5-6 jours que je suis en mode Figaro.
I think I've been in a kind of Figaro type configuration
Donc, c'est
over
un
the
peu
past
dormir.
for the past 5 days now.
Même si ça se voit pas forcément comme ça, mais
It might
je
not
suis
look that way, but I am pretty exhausted actually. I've not
je pense
slept
que
an
je
awful
suis
lot.
allé loin dans mes ressources.
I've gone a long way, I think, in, you know,
Ouais, je me suis fait violence là.
really
Parce que, je me disais c'est pas possible.
fishing out the bottom of the reserves that I have
C'est
physically.
l'année où j'ai le plus
This is
de
the year, the edition when
chance
I've
de
had
gagner
the
Vendée
most
Globe.
luck in winning
J'ai un
Vendee
super
Globe.
bateau, on a une
I've got a
belle
great
préparation,
boat,
super
good
équipe.
good
Tout
team,
était-
good
tous les ballons étaient
preparation.
ouverts. Après,
All
oui,
of the
le-
lights, you know, were
sur l'eau,
green.
le
could tick all the
schéma était pas
boxes.
forcément comme prévu à la fin.
The
bon,
finish
j'ai
wasn't
accroché,
quite
je
the
me suis
way
battu.
towards the end of the race, the
Et,
way I'd expected it to be.
et voilà, et mètre par mètre, c'était ça le
But
menant par la
meter
fin,
by
c'était
meter,
mètre
it
par
was
mètre
really
jusqu'au bout.
hard
Et,
to
le petit détail,
keep going and pay
si
attention
vous
to
avez des
detail
coups d'aborder,
and
le
make
petit matos à faire, voilà, c'était
make sure that
voilà,
everything
là,
could
parce que je disais,
be
aucun
nothing
regret à l'arrivée,
could be
peu importe
overlooked.
ce qui se passera. Et,
The main
et,
thing
oui,
was to arrive and
quand
to
j'étais
finish
là-bord,
ahead
avant
and
les
retain the lead.
Scilly, il y a 2 jours où
A couple of days ago, when I was just before the Scilly Islands,
je me suis dit que oui, là, ça y est, ça
I was
commence à être
thinking,
pas mal.
aha, maybe, you know,
bien parti.
I could pull this off. It's looking good.
Finalement, c'était dur de sortir de ce mode-là parce que derrière, on est rentré
In fact, it was
dans
difficult to get out of that way of thinking,
Ouessant,
and then when we got to Ushant and
avec tout ce trafic
the
maritime, ces pêcheurs, ces
shipping
cargos,
lanes and the fishing and cargo vessels,
je suis resté en fait dans le rythme.
I was in a rhythm, the same sort of mindset that I would be for a Figaro race.
J'ai même essayé de dormir un peu ce matin.
I tried to sleep a little bit this morning, you know, but
Et puis voilà,
but actually
pas facile. À un moment, je pense qu'on
wasn't that easy to sleep.
aussi que on commence à cogiter.
You start thinking, going over things and thinking, well, maybe I could win. No, I shouldn't say that. No, stop saying that.
C'est pas bien, ça va te porter
It's
malheur.
not good. It's going to bring you it's going to bring you bad luck.
Jusqu'à l'arrivée,
Until the finish, in fact, when you reach the buoy at the finish, yeah, and that was where I realized.
Merci.
Armel, à
Armel.
ta gauche, là-bas.
To your
la
left.
grande ligne, voilà. Dis-moi, est-ce que tu appréhendes un petit peu le...
Are you a little bit apprehensive about getting back to ordinary daily life after such a long 74 days of adrenaline?
prime de course qui n'a pas changé en 4 ans.
So what about
Tu l'as en
the
tête et est-ce que ça a une importance pour toi?
prize money that you win on this race? I mean, is it important to
Déjà, le
you?
retour à terre,
Well,
je l'appréhende.
Getting back to terra firma
Je sais pas trop.
is a little bit odd.
Je prends les choses comme elles viennent.
I take things
J'ai
as
la
they
chance
come,
d'être
actually.
entouré, j'ai
I'm well surrounded.
des gens,
I've got a great
de
team,
compétences autour de moi et
competent people around me.
pour faire qu'au mieux, ça se passe bien avec ma famille, mes enfants, ma femme.
I do the best I can so that things go well with my family, my wife, my children, my friends, and so on. Well,
J'ai prévu d'aller à Paris très très vite, il me semble.
yeah, I think I'm going to have to go to
Mais,
Paris fairly
Je
shortly.
vais pas voir le Gwenard tout de suite, mais bon, c'est pas grave, on ira jouer au golf plus tard.
We'll play golf
Mais,
later on.
Non, c'est sûr que
Oh, sorry, I think you're saying with François Gabard.
non, c'est moi je suis très heureux, voilà, je suis très heureux de ce qui va se passer.
I'm just very happy about what lies ahead. It's pure pleasure from now on,
De raconter, d'échanger,
to be able to tell what happened, to talk about the race, and so on. And so much work has gone into it.
C'est 10 ans de ma vie.
This project, all in all, represents
10
10 years of my life.
3 fois,
3 Vendee Globes, 3 years, 3 times that I've managed to
peu d'engagement,
make it all the way round.
et d'avoir fini par gagner.
It's a lot of commitment, a great commitment, and to have actually won this time, I'm extremely pleased, extremely happy about it.
On va faire ça avec plaisir. De toute façon, c'est toujours un plaisir de
It's just such a pleasure
voilà, notre aventure, notre course.
talk about the adventure it represents. And it actually, 4 years ago,
du plaisir aussi d'aller.
it was a great pleasure the last time too, and to talk about what happened during the race, the various events and so on. It's always really nice. So yeah, I'm really happy about it.
Et ça se passera bien, j'en suis sûr.
Yeah, I'm sure things will be fine.
Voilà. Et la deuxième question pour la prime de course.
Oh, the prize
Bah,
money.
non, on l'a pas
Well,
demandé, non,
the second
bah.
question.
On aurait bien aimé, on aurait bien aimé. Moi, je suis au bureau de l'IMOCA et on fait tout pour
I'm in
que
the IMICA board.
nous aide à répondre à nos sollicitations. Non, mais,
Yeah, it's
bah, c'est comme ça, oui.
that's the way it is.
On fait pas la voile.
You don't go
forcément,
sailing
on gagne des millions d'argent.
to win millions and millions.
Comme au
It's
football.
not in sailing is not football.
Voilà, des primes de course, elles sont vite
There
progression,
are
c'est sûr qu'on aurait aimé avoir un peu plus par rapport
yeah.
à l'enjeu,
I mean,
parce que,
we'd always like more,
faut,
considering what's
un
involved.
spécialiste à Roland Garros qui se fait
a
éliminer
quarter-finalist
qui gagne la même chose. Voilà,
in Roland Garros or in
sur un
the
terrain de tennis, nous on fait sur 14 jours. Donc, c'est
quarterfinals,
sûr que rapport à leur passé,
we can compare perhaps
pas
what he
forcément bien
gets
payé,
with
mais
what we might, but you know,
bon,
it's
c'est comme ça.
the way it is.
Surtout qu'il y a une partie qui part aux impôts.
The taxman takes his fair whack as well,
Mais
you
bon,
know,
c'est
so
comme ça. Non,
that's
mais
the way
voilà,
it
on
is.
va pas se plaindre.
We're not going to complain about it. We can't complain. Of course we can't. No,
C'est comme ça.
that's the way it is.
Armel, toujours sur ta
Armel.
gauche, même endroit, derrière Corinne.
To your left.
Il y a une course très attendue en 2019.
2019 is a multi-hull race,
Est-ce que tu vas y participer?
a solos
Est-ce que ça sera l'occasion pour une
round the
revanche
world
sur certains
race. Would it be a nice opportunity for you to sail against Gabard?
J'espère que ma femme n'est pas dans la salle.
I hope my wife is not in the room.
Elle m'a dit surtout pas de tour du monde tout de suite là. Donc,
Well, actually, my wife said, "Yeah,
non,
you're
mais,
not going to do a round the world
oui,
race
j'ai la chance,
straight away."
avec Banque
That's for
Poipulaire
sure.
d'avoir
Well,
super
Banque
projet qui
Poipulaire is offering me the chance to do. I've got a great project lined up with them, of course.
qui n'ont pas forcément cette opportunité-là.
Not everybody has such
Moi et
good luck.
la chance de construire un deuxième bateau en
I'm
ce
building
moment,
a second boat at the moment.
On parle du monocoque qu'on a
Talking
construit,
about the monohull,
qui est déjà vendu, mais là en ce
which is
moment,
already
on construit un
sold, of course.
trimaran, un ultime,
But we're building a
qui va venir à l'eau,
trimaran,
en-
which will be
au mois enfin, cet été,
in the
pardon,
water sometime
2017.
this summer.
Et il y a un programme derrière qui est
And
prévu.
there's a program
effectivement,
which is scheduled
Jacques Vabre, route du Rhum.
for that boat, Jacques
Avec
Fabre,
une
du
revanche à
Rhum.
prendre sur mon sort à moi et
And I'm
personnel. Et
taking
puis,
part again
et
for
puis oui, il y a
to
ce
better
tour du monde en
previous
2019,
results.
effectivement, ce sera
2019, yeah, sure, there's
un
another
nouveau
challenge
challenge.
lined up.
Pour l'instant, je dirais que
For
ce
the
soir,
moment, this evening,
j'y pense pas trop.
I'm not really got
Le bateau n'est pas encore
I'm not really concentrating on that
totalement.
right at the moment. The boat's
J'ai
not.
pas eu l'occasion de le voir récemment, donc
The build isn't
je
quite
passerai le
complete.
voir, après mon retour de Paris. Mais,
Once I'm back from Paris,
oui, c'est un
I'll go
C'est
down
un super
and
programme avec mon
go and
sponsor.
see
J'ai
how
chance,
the
voilà,
build is
d'avoir
getting on.
Banque Populaire qui me soutient,
Banque Populaire
qui soutient toute une équipe
has
depuis de nombreuses
been
années, qui,
supporting me for a long time now, and
voilà,
the whole
même
team
des fois, ça
too.
marche pas toujours, ben, quand ça marche, c'est
And
des
sometimes
belles
things don't
victoires.
work out.
Ils
You
ont-
know,
ils ont
projects
enchaîné
don't
comme,
necessarily
Jules Verne,
work every
Route du Rhum
time.
et la Vendée Globe.
They're
Donc,
kind of
moi, je suis très, très
lining
heureux
up a
pour
whole
eux
load of
de leur
projects
apporter
and
cette
so on,
troisième,
and
grande pierre
so
à
I'm just really
l'édifice.
happy to
Et puis,
bring this third
puis on va
stone
continuer
to
l'histoire,
the
parce qu'on a un programme,
the history of
effectivement,
what
qui est
Banque
passionnant.
Populaire
Alors
has
après,
been
avec
working
François,
on.
ben,
And
on
so
va se
with
retrouver,
François,
effectivement,
yeah,
en
we'll
ultime, et ça
be
va être un grand plaisir de
finding,
les
we'll be
recevoir
meeting up
comme
again
un
on the
deux
ultime
skipper,
class, in the ultime class.
et ça sera bien de
It'll
changer
be good
aussi, parce que c'est vrai que l'IMOCA,
to change too.
ça fait maintenant 10 ans que j'en fais.
I've been doing
C'est
the
l'équipage,
IMECA circuit now
c'est
for
marrant.
10 years or so, so
Bon, voilà, c'est bien de changer un
it's
petit
nice
peu.
to
3 Vendée
change.
Globe,
3 Vendée Globes.
ce qui est sûr, c'est que je ne serai pas au départ du prochain. Voilà.
I certainly won't be at the lining up at the start of the next Vendée Globe, that's for sure.
So Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself then.
Yeah, mate, I'm just the average guy from Australia, wife, 3 kids, love sailing, and that's about it, mate.
How did you come to get involved in the virtual regatta, the Vendee Globe race?
So I've been playing the virtual regatta game for a few years now, since the Volvo Ocean Race 4 years ago. That's when I first dabbled with virtual regatta, and then started taking it a little bit more seriously in the last edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, and it's just gone from there.
So what's it taken for you to win this race? Presumably you haven't had much sleep over the last few months.
No, I've had limited amounts of sleep on some nights. Some nights I've slept like a baby. The Southern Ocean's a great thing. You can just set and forget your boat, and sometimes you don't have to look at it for 2 days. But yeah, going through the doldrums, it's a bit of a different story, and that's when you don't get much sleep and you feel like you're actually on the boat.
And any kind of key points, key moments for you that I guess overall led to your success?
I guess, yeah, sort of the timing between Christmas and New Year's as we were approaching the equator up the coast of South America was the time that, yeah, I guess we jumped to the front. There was a group of 10 or 12 of us that managed to squeeze through a bit of a weather system and get to the north and into the trade winds, and that was basically the race. From there, the rich got richer, and yeah, that was the end of the day.
Well, 450,000 skippers playing the Vendee Globe Virtual Regatta. How does it feel to win?
It's yeah, I'm ecstatic. I'm over the moon. It's one of those things that you don't even consider at the start of the race. I was joking with a Swedish friend of mine on the game, Eric, or Toppen is his boat name, and said after the horrible start that I had, it's every chance that I'd win the race, because every time I had a bad start, I used to go okay, and the joke has become a reality, basically.
And after a few months of sleepless nights, then, are you looking forward to getting back to some kind of normality?
Yeah, it should be good. So my wife would love me to come to bed every now and again, so that's probably one thing that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, it's I love the game. I'm basically addicted to it. So if there's a virtual regatta anonymous group out there, I'm ready to join.
And just give us a quick rundown of your sort of sailing background, Matt.
So my sailing background, I've been sailing since I was around about 6 years old, just through local dinghy classes. Worked my way up to 14-foot skiffs and was travelling around the world sailing on them with a good mate from Australia. Then I had kids and all that got put in the back pocket, but now I've jumped back in with a couple of great mates and sailing Etchells back in Australia.
Fantastic. And listen, just before you go, what do you do for work, and also how many kids have you got?
So for work, I'm a computer systems engineer, so a bit of a computer nerd by trade, but I work in a power station up in the Pilbara, which is in the northwest of Western Australia. And I've got 3 beautiful little girls at home and a wife, Beck, as well. So they love looking at the game and watch me sail around the world and pointing out Australia and New Zealand and all the different countries that we're sailing past. So it's a good way of teaching them geography as well as about sailing.
And how old are you, Matt?
38, mate.
Fantastic, nice one. Well, listen, mate, congratulations. We'll let you go and get some rest now, and enjoy basking in the glory of being the Vendee Globe Virtual Regatta winner.
Thanks very much, Will.
All right, mate, no worries. Take care. And I'm very happy to say we can now go live to Great American 4. Rich Wilson, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Rich. Welcome to the show.
Nice
Great
to,
to speak to you.
North of Staten Island, north of the Falkland Islands. Very good, very good. Yeah, we're doing fine. It's when we turned the corner, and actually it wasn't just turning the corner at Cape Horn or Diego Ramirez Island, which we went south of, but once we came through Straits Lemaire and got north of Staten Island, and then suddenly we're in the lee of the continent of South America, and everything changed completely. It suddenly the seas got calmer and the wind got calmer, and the sun came out and we saw blue sky, which I don't think we've seen blue sky since we were in the South Atlantic the last time before heading into the Indian Ocean. So a real sea change, as they say. Everything changed. So it's good. We're north of the Falkland Islands now and heading northeast.
Great to hear, Rich. Tell us about your rounding of Cape Horn. Probably slightly different to previous occasions you've gone around Cape Horn.
Yes, well, in 2008, 2009, we came across the continental shelf. We had moderate conditions. But this time, we had that forecast for very strong winds over the continental shelf, and I just thought that when it goes from 12,000 feet deep to 600 feet deep in just a few miles, that it could be pretty chaotic over the shelf. So for us, we decided, and we were a little bit late, obviously. Also, we were later than Fabrice and Arnaud. we decided to go outside Diego Ramirez Island, which is actually about 65 miles to the southwest of Horn Island and Cape Horn. And so we did that and then jibed and went up the edge of the continental shelf. We were about 30 miles off Horn Island when we went past, so we didn't see Cape Horn, but that's okay. Obviously, we have history down here with the capsize in 1990 with the 60-foot trimaran, which was out at 55 south and 79 west. And coming across the Pacific, I've been in communication with Murray Lister, who was participating in our school program, which is great. He was a ship captain. He was aboard the New Zealand Pacific when they rescued us off Cape Horn back in 1990. So it's nice to be in touch with Murray, who was the savior that day.
I'm here in the studio in Les Sables d'Olonne with Brian Thompson, 2008 Vendee Globe competitor. He's got a question for you, Brian.
Hey, hi, Rich. It's absolutely fantastic to speak to you, and I have to say you have been doing a really amazing job so far. We're very proud of what you've done, and I just wanted to check how you're doing, and how was it when that plane flew over you? Did you have a chance to speak to the pilots?
Oh, yes, hi, Brian. Really nice to hear your voice, and yeah, it's really been fun to watch your exploits through the years. The VHF call was just a couple of minutes before they arrived, and I was here at the chart table, and the VHF was on, and so I wasn't sure who or what it was, but so I asked because I didn't quite catch it, and then asked when they would be here, and they said about 1 minute. So I grabbed the camera and got outside, and that was really nice. I didn't really have a chance to talk to them too much before they took off, and hopefully they went up to find Alan as well. So, but it was nice. It was pretty potent symbol there, that British Hercules aircraft. But it was nice. So anyway, 2008, 2009, I went to the east of the Falkland Islands. This time we went to the west, and I'm not sure if it was the right move or not looking back, but it was the right move at the time. And it also, this rounding with Diego Ramirez Island and then Straits Le Maire, both of those are iconic places also. So we got to go through Straits Le Maire. That was good.
That's excellent, Rich. And you are doing amazing time, much faster than 2008-9, and having a fantastic race with the other three boats around you. It looks to me like you could be getting close to 100 days for the finish. What do you see ahead in your close battle there?
Well, I think one of the things that's interesting, and I'm not sure what the real numbers are, but with this AEZ, which I don't, my opinion is that it's not a good idea. It constrains the options for the skippers, both with the gales, the option to head south, and also the option to escape to the south if you have a big high pressure system, and certainly coming across the Pacific. It kind of cornered Arnaud and Fabrice, and but I think that it's longer. I mean, we've sailed 1,500 miles longer to get to Cape Horn than in 2008, 2009, and yet we're faster. So the boat's going much faster, that's for sure. And I think, I mean, Brian, you know me, I'm not the push skipper, but I think having the group around, first of all, it's been great for the community spirit. A lot of emails going back and forth between the group, but it has also probably pulled me along a little bit faster, just wanting to stay with them. It's kind of nice to be part of a group. I think always it's always nice to be part of a team, and we're sort of the group of four. Used to be group of five before Enda lost his mast, and so it has a varying participants, but it's really nice.
Great to hear that, Rich. Guillaume from our French Vendee Globe media team is with me, also in the studio. He's got a question for you. Guillaume.
Hi, Rich. Today is a big day. You know, you still have a lot to do, the Atlantic, but Armel is coming. Do you have a word for him?
Well, I think it's just fantastic for Armel being second in 2008, 2009 behind Michel Desjoyeaux. That was a great entrance for him into the Vendee Globe, and then the battle last time with Francois Gavard that went down right to the last few hours as well, and now another battle with Alex Thompson, and it's just been spectacular. And one of the things that I appreciate about the shorthanded sailors and these great, I hope that goes to these great shorthanded sailors like Armel is they're so friendly and they're so available. And if I had a question about something, I could go and ask him. And I love that part of the shorthanded sailing group. And I think that's really important, and it might be different from some other parts of the sport of sailing.
Well, Rich, listen, thank you very much for dialing us in today. It's fantastic to hear news from Great American 4, and we look very much forward to speaking to you in a few days' time.
Good, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Rich, and bye from Les Sables d'Olonne for now. Well, Brian, amazing to hear Rich quite so animated. It must be a massive boost for him going north now.
Yeah.